We're visiting today with the Wonder Valley Fire Department, and I am talking to
Terry Davis, one of the captains of Wonder Valley Fire.
And Terry, what is your function with the fire department?
My function with the fire department is I'm a training officer for Wonder Valley, and basically on Saturdays we have our training, and that's what we're doing today. We just got finished when you guys showed up.
Oh, do you have other members that come out for this training?
Yeah, we have 12 members of our fire department at this time. They're basically up in our bay right now.
Are they all on site today?
No, we have two of them. One is down in San Bernardino, which is my other captain and stuff. She had personal business she had to do today and stuff, but she's normally here at our trainings also.
Well, when you have these Saturday meetings and so forth, training meetings, and you are the training officer, you're the one that conducts the training. What sort of training do you conduct here?
We go anywhere from wildland firefighting training to auto extrication training and all aspects of firefighting.
Well, if you get a call, how do you know what it is and where to go and all that stuff?
What we do is we carry around, all of our volunteers carry around these 900 beepers, and what that will happen is it will tone out. It'll basically say the address, what the call is, and the time of call, and what equipment they're wanting us to respond with.
Oh, I see. But they're not necessarily on site here during the week.
No, we're not on site and stuff. We have one duty officer, her Captain Starr, and she's here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, basically from 8 to 5 o'clock.
Yeah. Does she take the calls, or do you get the calls independent of her?
Yeah, we get the calls independently and stuff. What happens is she will be the first piece of equipment out and stuff, which is our brush patrol.
Oh.
And that's our first piece of equipment out.
And typically she'll go out there and see what the fire is, and then
see what the see what the saying is. One of the other firefighters will meet her at a certain location, and then they will go on out. We cover all the way to Interstate 40, so we got some pretty long places. Yeah, and then we cover all the way out to 177.
And that's for fire and
fire, medical aids, and traffic accidents. And most of our calls out here are medical aids and traffic accidents. We don't get too many fires.
No, recently there hasn't been that. Well, let's go meet some of your crew.
Okay, sure.
Thank you. Continuing our visit with the Wonder Valley Fire Department, I'm talking to members of the fire department who are going to describe the jobs that they do and what they're doing today. And you're, sir?
I'm Richard Page.
Richard Page, and what is your function?
I'm an engineer, EMT.
And what sort of things do you do if the bell goes off and you have to respond?
It takes.
And you're an EMT. What does that stand for?
Emergency Medical Technician.
And you've had specialized training in helping people that are injured and so forth.
Absolutely.
And most of the calls here are accidents and medicals and so forth. And you're on duty today and
this weekend. Yes.
This weekend, but that's on site. But you're on call.
Yeah, all the time.
All the time. And how do you, as we discussed before, you have a beeper also?
Yes.
That will tell you the nature of the injury or the condition?
Or just basically what it's all about.
Will you also respond in case of fire?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And you, ma'am?
Corey Davis.
And Corey, what do you do?
Firefighter EMT.
And you have performed the same functions
Yes.
of fire, and you also report in case of fire or any
Yes.
call that comes in.
Any call.
Do you all scramble if a call comes in?
Pretty much all of us show up.
And what if you're not in the area or something?
We have a system worked out to where we let everybody know who's not available, who is available, and those that are available go. And if it's anything major, if we're in town, we come running out and get here as soon as we can.
So you make sure that there's a skeleton or a staff available.
Always. Always.
Nobody leaves without letting everybody else know. And who do you coordinate that with?
Our captain, Starlene.
Oh, and Starlene is on duty here during the week.
Yes, 5 days a week, 24 hours a day, basically, and then on the weekends, too. But we have the weekend duty officer on the weekends.
And thank you very much, Teresa. And you, ma'am?
Hi, Cassandra Shaw, firefighter.
You're a firefighter?
Yes.
And you respond for the fire calls?
Fire calls and medicals.
Do you drive the truck or pull the hose or?
Pull the hose, yeah. I'm not driving quite yet.
Not quite yet. How long have you been with the fire department?
Almost 3 years.
Oh, good, yeah. And how do you get on the fire department?
Well, you have to take a physical, and they put you through quite a bit on those, and that's about it, and qualify.
Do they have openings every once in a while and advertise them?
Yes, I think she does.
Yeah.
She has,
And then you make application and go through a series of tests or something, and they
go down to San Bernardino. They give you a strict physical
Mhm.
and tests and stuff, yes. Check your hearing, everything like that.
I see. Thank you. And excuse me, and you, sir?
I'm Zach Davis
And how long have you been with the fire department?
since early November.
And what is your function?
I'm just a basic firefighter.
And you've only been on a few months then?
Yeah.
And you're going, do you live here locally?
Yeah, I live with Captain. He's my dad.
That's good.
Good call.
And everybody lives locally, right?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Is that a requirement of membership on the fire department?
No, we have some Marines that are on basic, respond from base.
Can they leave duty?
No, this is only a pay called station and stuff, so if they have an actual job and stuff, this is basically like volunteer. We do get paid, we're pay called firefighters, but if they have something else to make a living and stuff, this would not make a living for them. So this is basically volunteer and stuff. We do get paid though.
Yeah.
Per call.
I see. And how many calls do you get during a week?
During the week, it averages and stuff. Like I said, most of our calls are medical aids and traffic accidents and stuff, and it happens any time of day or night.
When would you don't have an ambulance facility though?
No, we have our ambulance facilities. We have basically 3 of them. Depends on where our calls are. MBA is one of them here locally at Joshua Tree and 29 Palms. And then we have Needles Ambulance that helps us out on I-40. And then we have Desert Ambulance that also helps us out on I-40 up to Amboy.
I see. If you got a call up to I-40, would there be any equipment left here to cover your background?
Yes. The only thing that we pull out of our area right now is our brush patrol and stuff, and that is our first out a piece of equipment for I-40. If any other equipment is needed up there and stuff, we have Station 46 and Station 31 out of Needles and stuff that comes out there with us.
So there are other stations out there that can help support you.
Yes.
And what is a brush truck?
What is the brush patrol?
Brush patrol.
That is our first out piece of equipment. It has our jaws of life on it. It has 200 gallons of water. We carry 5 gallons of foam. It's basically first in piece of equipment that can do basically anything initially.
Is the idea to have most of the firefighters double as EMT also?
Yes, that's one of our requirements is being on the station within a year and stuff as being an EMT.
Now, when you take off for a call, does 2 people take off with the brush patrol, or 1 if that's all that's happened to be there at the moment?
Basically, it would be 2 people.
But I understand the brush patrol, you have 2 of these brush patrol trucks?
No, we only have 1 brush patrol, and then we have a squad, we have a brush engine, a regular engine, and then our water tender.
During the week, Star would be here and she'd respond to a call. And is she qualified as an EMT also?
Yes, she's qualified as an EMT and on all of our pieces of equipment.
So 1 truck is going to get there on the scene right quick.
Right quick.
Right quick. And then you could pick up on, if the additional support is needed, you could pick up on other members of the fire department. However, if they get the call, they'll respond anyway, won't they?
Yeah, they will respond and stuff, and on our pagers it will tell them what pieces of equipment are required. Or Captain Starr will go ahead and let us know what else to bring and cancel equipment as needed.
Oh, you won't necessarily go out there if Star determines that really it is necessary to bring the big pumper or something like that.
Yeah, that's right, correct.
Got that straight. And you, ma'am?
Kathy Strudel,
And Kathy, how long have you been on the fire department?
3 years.
And what is your function?
Firefighter EMT.
And you do the same thing of covering for the injury accidents and and also as a firefighter.
Yes.
And how is the equipment maintained?
I go through the equipment every week, do pre-trip inspections like all the other firefighters do. Anything that's wrong with it, we either fix or return it in for maintenance.
You check it out at once a week?
Once a week minimum.
And in the checkout that you do, there's a check sheet or something that you follow to check the various pieces of equipment
Yes.
and see that they're working
Yes.
properly? And do you take some runs every once in a while just to see everything's going well?
Yes.
I see. And you have training programs each weekend
Yes.
on Saturdays?
Yes.
That's right. And those, you go through what sort of thing on the training?
Whatever the captains determine that weekend for us to do.
What sort of things does he usually, or do you usually do?
Cover pump ops, driving ops.
Pump ops is getting the pumper going and spurting some water?
Yes.
Oh, I see. See, I'm catching on this stuff. Are there any openings?
That's up to the captains.
I see. And you, sir?
My name is Mike Kasaw,
And your function, sir?
PCF firefighter, EMT.
What's the first?
PCF, pay call,
Pay call?
firefighter.
What's pay call mean?
That means when we get called, we get
Hey,
paid.
oh, I see. That's a difference from some of the other staff that are,
No, we're all paid.
you're all pay call. You don't get paid unless you get called.
That's right.
Except-
We are paid for some of our training hours also.
Yeah, when you come in on Saturdays, I hope you're paid.
Yeah, it's enjoyable though. We have
Yeah.
some good trainings out here.
Yeah. That's right. And you also drive the vehicles?
Yes.
And you know all
Operator.
the operation of the various vehicles and so forth? How long have you been with the fire department?
6 years.
I noticed that for the most part, most of you have been on 3 or
We're
more
one
years.
one big happy family.
Yeah. And have you had many fire calls recently?
Not recently, but just wait a minute.
Well, you seem like a very happy group, and it seems that you have a good esprit de corps in the group here, and we're very happy. I, as a resident, am very happy that we have you here in support of us as far as injury, accidents, and that sort of thing is concerned, and fire. So, thank you very much for the interview, and I've enjoyed talking to you.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
Very enjoyable.
Bye-bye. Continuing with our visit with the Wonder Valley Fire Department, I'm talking to Fire Captain, the training officer, Terry Davis.
Yes.
And we're looking at the, what is called the brush
Brush patrol.
patrol
And
vehicle.
this is our first out piece of equipment and stuff. Basically, we have our Jaws of Life, which is we're going to show you, and it's the Lucas tool. We have our spreaders.
This is if a car is mangled in an accident.
And we're trying to extricate our victims.
I see.
And basically, this is the spreaders.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, it's for opening doors or confined spaces that we need to open up to get to the patient.
I see. And that is driven by a hydraulic pump?
This is driven by a hydraulic pump. It's up front here. Next thing we have is our cutters. It's basically, you see the fire department taking off a top of a vehicle or something like that. This is basically what they use to take the top of the vehicle off to get to our patient.
Have you had practice using these on wrecked cars or something?
Oh yes, we have a person out here that lets us use some of their junk cars and stuff.
I see.
And one more piece of equipment we have is our ram. And this is the ram.
And what is that used for?
This is basically for moving steering wheels, or if we have a pedal or something like that and needs to be moved, we can go ahead and utilize it.
What is it? This
This comes
Jam-
out,
yeah.
slides out,
size out.
gives a lot of pressure.
Oh, I see. And this vehicle is on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week?
That's affirmative. We have this vehicle manned at all times,
And it's either here at the fire station.
or at one of our firefighters' residence and stuff that is on duty at the time.
Let's take a look at that pump.
This is basically the pump that does the hydraulics for the pieces of gear that we just showed you. And basically it's driven by hydraulics and stuff.
And you have some lines there that give you a little reach.
Yes, it has reach and stuff, and it's also mobile where we can pull it out of the vehicle and and position it anywhere around the vehicle that we need to. We also can operate 2 pieces of gear at the same time.
What kind of an engine does it have on it?
Has a little Bridge and Stratton 4.5 horsepower motor
I see.
that builds the pressure.
And this would be a response to an automobile accident where something was damaged, and the driver or the person in the vehicle also would be have experience as a for emergency treatment and so forth.
Exactly. What this would be is for extricating the patient out of the vehicle and stuff. And when you hear this thing, it basically scares the patient and stuff, so you have to reassure the patient of what you're doing every time you go to cut the vehicle and try to extricate the patient out.
Yeah. And you carry medical equipment also
we
on this
carry
vehicle?
medical equipment on the other side, and then we have the pump that holds 200 gallons of water, a tank on board that holds 200 gallons of water, and we have a pump that is able to suppress fire.
Let's go take a look at that other equipment. Continuing with our look at this first response triple threat vehicle that is on hand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to respond to emergency calls. We're now looking at the fire suppression equipment.
Basically what we have here is a skid-mounted pump. We have 200 gallons of water that's to the forward of the vehicle and stuff. We also have AFFF foam that we can go ahead and add to our water to help suppress any type of fire that we would come across.
How much actual fire suppression capability have you here?
Well, like I said, we have 200 gallons of water and 5 gallons of foam. It's basically a quick knockdown if we had to go in for a rescue. Vehicle fires, it could put out a vehicle fire depending on how big the vehicle is.
Oh, I can see it's important from that point of view that if you need to make entry, even if the building is fully involved, it'll give you the capability to make entry and make rescue.
That's correct and stuff. If the firefighter or the captain, safety officer says it's safe enough to get into the building and stuff with this piece of equipment, or let's say a vehicle fire and stuff, so we could suppress the fire really quickly.
Mm-hmm. And you all also are wearing protective gear at the same time.
Yes, we always wear all of our protective gear. We basically have turnouts, gloves, helmet, and a shroud that we would wear.
Well, let's take a look at some of the other. You have, this is a triple threat vehicle, as we said, and you also have medical gear on board in case of personal injury and so forth.
That's correct.
Well, let's go take a look at that now. We're now looking at the third element of this first response vehicle, the medical equipment that is carried on board. We've already looked at the jaws of life that can cut into a car where there may be a victim trapped. We looked at the fire suppression, and now we're looking at the medical equipment to help the person that may be injured. What do we have here?
Basically, the top drawer is basically our protection and stuff for our firefighters to wear, like gloves and a mask. The second drawer is basically our medical trauma bag and our ambu bag.
What's a trauma bag?
Trauma bag is basically the bandages, splints, and items like that that the patient may require. Also has our blood pressure cuff and to
They have some monitoring equipment on?
Equipment, yes. And then our lower drawer down there has a BA bottle, a BA, and then the O2 in case the patient is in respiratory arrest or something like that, or needs oxygen.
We've talked about traffic accidents, but this could be also home accidents or fire injury or just somebody having some sort of seizure.
Exactly, and that's basically where we'd come to get our equipment out of.
Now this truck would respond with you first on scene probably, but it is supported by another truck that responds at the same time.
Exactly, and that would be our squad, and that also carries extra medical gear.
And of course it carries the personnel also that have been trained on for personnel emergency equipment.
Exactly.
I see. Thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank you.
talking to you and seeing all this equipment. It's nice to know you're here.
Thank you. We're glad to be here.
We will continue with this visit to the Wonder Valley Fire Station in a few minutes. I hope you continue to watch the program and enjoy what you're seeing, and are reassured as I am of the wonderful protection and the wonderful people that protect us in the valley. Thank you, and we'll see you shortly.
Do you have the right prescription for getting the most out of your medicine? Proper care and storage will ensure the strength and stability of most medications. Medicine needs to be protected from extremes in temperature, light, and humidity. So don't store your medication on a windowsill, in your car's glove compartment, or in a bathroom cabinet. A cupboard or drawer in a cool, dry area will help protect your medication. Check to see if your medicines require refrigeration. This will be stated on the prescription or container label. Remove cotton from open medicine bottles. Cotton left in an open container can absorb moisture from the air. Although the cotton may not look or feel wet, the medicine will absorb water from the cotton and eventually crumble and disintegrate, leaving behind a powdery tablet. Check the expiration dates on all medication. Just like fresh food loses nutrients, medicine can lose its potency over time. Discard all expired medicines safely. If you have any questions about the care of your prescription or non-prescription medicine, check with your doctor or local pharmacist.
We're continuing to look at the Wonder Valley Fire Department and the equipment that is available for our protection in this area, and the people that man this equipment. The equipment is useless unless you have the trained people to properly operate the equipment. And I'm talking with the training officer who's going to introduce us to the real serious fire suppression equipment, the pumper that supplies the water to the engine when they are called out to a fire. The first response vehicle that we looked at, the brush patrol, would go out to the site first, and the fire captain that driving the truck would determine whether it was necessary to have additional equipment. If so, these people would be alerted and they would jump into this truck, the pumper here, and proceed to the scene, where they would meet up with the engines and then proceed to attack the fire. This equipment requires special training.
Oh, yes, it does and stuff. There's a lot of weight when you're moving down the road with this piece of gear and stuff. If you miss a gear or something like that, you can be in pretty good trouble. This is our mobile hydrant. Since Wonder Valley does not have a water source, so to speak, and we do not have fire hydrants, we have a water tender. It carries 3,500 gallons, and basically it supplies our engines for fire suppression.
You have hoses here that are connected to the engines.
Exactly.
So to replenish their water supply.
Exactly.
Each one of the engines, so it does carry some water.
Yes, each one of our engines carry 500 gallons. If we were actually on a structure fire, we'd also have either base fire or 29 Palms fire with additional engine from them helping to suppress the fire.
Oh, I see. So if this equipment is called out, 29 Palms and the base is also alerted.
Exactly, in case we need another engine, additional engine for a structure fire. And this water tender would supply all three at the same time.
And you in turn back up the other stations in case they need help.
Exactly. We have a mutual agreement between the stations and stuff.
Have you been driving this truck to other sites?
Just in our area. I haven't driven it out of our area, no.
But I understand that you've had some calls down in Los Angeles during the fire season.
We've had strike teams that we've been out on. Basically, this hasn't left the area for that. Our engines have for those items. The last time this went out, I believe, was the 29 Palms Inn fire when they needed additional water.
Oh, when the palm trees burnt?
When the palm trees burned, I believe this was one of the pieces of equipment that went there.
I see. And but you could be called. This truck here would not go, but the engines might well go to help support other fire companies.
Exactly.
And not only in the Morang Basin, but down in San Bernardino or into Los Angeles County.
If the need arises and our chiefs require our assistance and stuff, we're ready to roll.
Because you need specialized training to drive this vehicle, then you have to arrange that the personnel, if somebody is out of town or something, that there is somebody available in case of requirement.
Exactly, and we have 4 people right now that is trained on this piece of equipment. Our first operator is Richard Page.
Richard?
How you doing?
And how long have you been driving?
About 5.5 years.
Well, you're pretty, well, how long has this truck here been available?
Well, than I've been here.
Oh, it has been here.
It's been here about 15 at least.
You certainly keep it nicely. I thought it was new.
No, it's not.
This is our oldest piece of equipment that we've had on the station now.
Now, I shouldn't comment on the fact that you're a little shorter than some other people here, but once you get in that seat up there, is it adjustable?
It's adjustable enough for me.
Well, my son is about a foot taller than I am, and I have a problem with him adjusting the truck seat so I can reach the clutch from time to time. That's why I asked. And you're driving also on this truck here. How long have you been driving the truck?
About a year and a half.
Uh-huh. And have you been here locally to some fires?
Mostly just to training operations
I
right
see.
now. I haven't done any actual fire with it.
Well, that's nice to hear that you're here and available and that we're not having as many fires as we used to. What sort of training exercise do you do on the truck?
The main thing is the way it shifts. It takes a lot of coordination to be able to shift it because of the way it shifts. You got to double clutch it, and if you don't do it just right, you don't catch those gears.
And driving is is one of the aspects of it, but also handling the hoses and
Yes.
that sort of
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate talking to you. Let's take a look at the engines now that
Okay.
that you supply the water to.
And we have a few other drivers that are not here, but these are the same drivers that would be driving the engines and stuff as long as this thing gets out, and this is our hydrant.
Now you have 4 drivers for this vehicle here,
Exactly.
but they could also drive the engines?
They can also drive the engines and stuff also. It's just making sure that we have one of the drivers come and get this if it's a major structure fire.
And are some of these EMT trained also?
Yes, all of us are EMTs.
Okay, so once you get out there, you're loaded for bear
Yeah, exactly.
with the jaws of life and the water and the medical assistance and so forth.
Exactly, and we're ready to take on any task.
Thank you very much. Let's go take a look at the engines now. I'm talking with Terry Davis, fire captain and training officer for the Wonder Valley Fire Department. And now we're looking at what is called the engine that will respond to the scene in case the fire captain in the brush patrol, who has arrived on the scene first, decides it's necessary. These fire engines are in turn supported by the tanker trucks which supply the water, though these engines do have some water on board.
Exactly. This one carries 500, and so does our brush engine. It carries 500 gallons also.
So a tanker may not be necessary, but depending on the size of the fire.
Exactly, depending on the size of the fire, and if the fire is fully involved, and then we would need to bring both engines.
And you also have personnel on board to drive the vehicle and to also to operate the material.
Exactly. We have the driver, and then we have our firefighter, Zach. Come on out, Zach. This is what we would be wearing for a vehicle fire or a structure fire.
Now, does Zach suit up when this on the way to the fire?
Exactly. We basically, before the engine starts out, we go ahead and put our structure gear on. We do have our BA bottles that are in the jump seats that he would go ahead and start applying on the en route.
Why is all this equipment considered necessary?
Because the fire is so intense that we need to have some type of protection for the BA is basically to give us fresh oxygen when we go into a smoke-filled environment or a heated environment.
Well, you don't necessarily go into, and the hose work and so forth, go that close to the building, though, do you?
Well, sometimes we have to do an interior attack, and that means that we have to go in possibly for a rescue, or if the fire is contained into a certain area of the building and stuff, we can probably save the structure by doing an interior attack, meaning going into the building, a smoke-filled building, and suppressing the fire that way.
I can understand with a respirator you can walk right into the smoke of the building, but heat, if the building is on fire, what kind of heat can this gear protect?
Well, sometimes when the heat of the fire starts coming down from the ceiling into the ground, we normally will go in low, where we do have possibly clear vision and get out of the heat as much as possible. That's why when we go into an interior attack, we go in low and try to locate the fire, and then put the wet stuff on the red stuff.
I see. I think we better let Zach go here. Of course, Zach doesn't feel the sunlight, do you? You're protected.
He's got a lot of shade on right now.
Okay, Zach, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And perhaps you could, Terry, you could tell us something about the other equipment here, how it's used.
Well, this is basically one of our engines and stuff. It's basically a Type 1. It will, we normally will take 2 1.5-inch hoses and pull off here for our tack lines, which is our forward and reverse hoses here. And this would be the lines we'd pull to go ahead and start our attack.
What's the difference between forward and reversal?
Oh, I mean, I kind of got the back, yeah, the front and the back here.
Front and back. Is that Marine Corps?
Kind of putting both of them together.
And what about the valves and so forth?
Yeah, the valves and stuff. Basically, these valves are for our the discharges and stuff. Like this is for number 1, number 2 discharge. We have 2 discharges that are the same on the other side, which is these here, and then we have a rear discharge, which is this one here. So actually, we could have 7 hoses off this one engine.
And what drives the pump?
What drives the pump? Well, this pump has a midship pump in it, which you would go ahead and start it from the driver's seat. The driver would go ahead and start the pump, and then he'd come out and he would actually be the engineer for the pumping operation.
And that pump can support 7 hoses off this?
Well, when it was new, probably. We normally pull 2.
And 500 gallons wouldn't last very long, so you better...
Gallons, so we normally have two hoses that are our tack lines.
What is that orange hose that I see up there?
Okay, this is a booster line, and it's basically what we use it for is trash fires. We would never pull it for a real fire. It would be basically if we're putting out somebody's illegal campfire or something like that, we would pull that and stuff, but that's the only thing that's used for.
How many people crew this vehicle?
Well, on a good day, we probably get 3 people on it and stuff. As you know, we've only got so many people on our department, and we have other pieces of equipment that have to get on scene also. Yeah. So we like to have at least 3.
But once all the equipment is on scene, each one of your operators or each one of the personnel here is trained to double in one.
Exactly. We're all trained to double in all aspects of firefighting.
I see. Well, thank you very much. Again, it's very pleasant to know that you people are online. Sitting up here in the cab of this truck, I'm impressed with, this is pretty big business driving this vehicle. And one of the things that has occurred to me is one thing to drive it, but how do you know where you're going?
Okay, some of the places that we go, since it's a vast area and stuff out here, we have a little thing called the Winter Valley Map. And what it does is when our beeper goes off, it tells us the address of the road that we're going to. And what we do is we break out our map if we're not familiar with the area or the street. We'd break it out, and it would basically give us a 3-letter code or 3-number code, basically going to that area of the map and seeing the best access to get into the area that we're going to.
Oh. That relieves me that you have some provision for where you're going, because as you pointed out, it was a vast area. Well, Terry, I certainly enjoyed our visit here, and if you would just close the door now,
okay,
I'll see you around.
All right.
Let's go. And that's not true. I'm not going to drive this truck. But we certainly have enjoyed the visit with the Wonder Valley Fire Department, and we thank them very much for coming out here on Saturday and talking with us and showing all the equipment and the personnel that they have for the protection of life and property in the area. So see you soon again. Thank you.